Hey, everybody. It's Wellness Wednesday. Happy Wellness Wednesday, I should say. My favorite day of the week and my favorite time of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Marsie Lyn Ross, founder of Edlin Essentials, where healthy is the new beautiful. So I don't want to spend too much time at all of this 15 minutes. I want to give it all to my special guest, Kanethia Jones, affectionately known as KJ. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, this is awesome. Awesome time to just gather and share information and connect with each other. And you have a very important topic that I want to talk about. And I think it really begs to let women understand when people say early detection, how it can truly turn you into a potential tragedy into triumph. So I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story with us today. I always like to brag on you and give some background on who you are. You know, I love it, love it, love it. It gives us an opportunity to give some shout outs because you are amazing. Um, and so KJ is a graduate of Spelman. Hey there, are you Spelman people? What do we call you, Spelmanites?
Spellmanites, very good. Yes, that is exactly. Hey, my Spellman sisters.
That's
Many of them
right.
said they would tune in, so hopefully they're there. Hey, y'all.
Hey there, they'll be able to see it. I just made the broadcast public, so they'll be
Awesome.
able to search my name and be able to hopefully see you right now live. So Spelman graduate, and then for graduate school, a Harvard graduate, which I think is
Indeed.
so amazing to see an African American woman be able to achieve such great educational levels at both of those great educational institutes.
Thank
And then you're a member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So you had to tear it up. So yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
my mom might trade you in for me. She also is a member of that great sorority as well. But
Hey,
thank you
mama.
for being here, KJ. Talking
My
about
pleasure.
this. I know Tuki says she loves the HBCUs. And it's her favorite time of the Kanisha says her favorite time too. So one of the things that we talk about is how do we build this collaboration of health and wholeness?
Mhm.
And you are such a testament to what it means for early detection and what it means to have self-care with intention, especially when it comes to our mammograms and our physical health, like our checkups. So just tell us, I'm going to let you eat the whole 15 minutes up, just sharing
Okay.
your background story. First starting with, I guess family history and just
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
So maybe start with tell us about, what happened to you. And then we'll talk about what are some key things that we need to know as Black women or women in general about mammograms and breast health. So share your story
Absolutely.
with us.
Okay. So my story starts with having a mother and a grandmother who are both breast cancer survivors. From their experience, I was early on aware of the importance of getting regular mammograms. But of course, I'm busy like we all are. I don't have a husband and kids, but I am super busy. I'm a hardworking professional and, involved in a number of different organizations, including my sorority. Um, so life got in the way, right? And I was getting ready to go on vacation in January to Punta Cana, but I was like, "Oh yeah, let me hurry up and get this mammogram thing. Let me get that done because it's the new year and I'm trying to live right, right?" So I scheduled the doctor's appointment for the day right before, like 7:30 at night. Upon returning from Punta Cana, had a fabulous weekend, a long weekend. Upon returning from Punta Cana, I had a letter in the mail and the letter said basically they had concerns for both breasts and I should schedule an appointment to see my doctor as soon as possible. That had happened once before, so I wasn't necessarily thrown off guard, but I was a little shaken.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so I think that that's also a point, right? When you start to get your mammograms, you have that baseline visit at 40, right?
Mhm.
You have it at 40. That's why it's so critical. So as you grow, I mean, as you age, they can start to see a series of images that if there's something going on, they will be able to detect very quickly. And we do start to get calcification. Our breasts do change as we age. And so the fact that you got the letter, that shows that they were on it. But, I've gotten the letter too. But tell us how this time was different for you.
So this time was totally different. On the 12th of February, I went in for a bilateral diagnostic mammogram, which just was basically that we're going to do some deeper imagery, some more specific imagery. So that diagnostic imagery, she kept taking pictures, taking pictures. She would sit me down, take pictures, sit me down, take pictures. By the third time, I think I was like crumbling. So after what felt like 10,000 photographs and an ultrasound, the radiologist showed me on the ultrasound what she was concerned about. And so she was like, I have concerns in both breasts. I'm pretty sure the one in the left breast is benign. It's the right one that is an area of concern. So I'm going to have to do a biopsy. There was a sister who was my tech, and she said, can you come back at 2:30? I said, I'll be back. She came back. I went back at 2:30. They did the biopsy. 2 days later, on Valentine's Day at 8:34 a.m., I was diagnosed with ductal carcinoma in situ, which basically means they found cancer in your breast in the milk ducts. So that's the in situ. Um, and so I was told to immediately schedule an appointment with the surgeon. She said, this was the radiologist talking. She said, you don't have the option of doing nothing. We have to do something. So today you need to schedule an appointment to meet with the breast surgeon. I scheduled an appointment for that very next week. The week after that, during that conversation with the breast surgeons, we decided together, I was pretty clear going in, but we decided together that I was going to have a bilateral mastectomy. I'm sorry, a mastectomy. And so with that came the option, once we met with the reconstructive surgeon, of having what's called a deep flap. So what they will do is they will reconstruct the breast, and then use the fat tissue from your belly to create your mound of tissue that would be your breast. So you're using your own tissue, and then you get what's similar to a tummy tuck. So I am now. So that was the decision that we made. The week after that was my pre-op, where I had another MRI. After two MRIs there, and then a CT scan to make sure that my tissue below my waist was, of course, viable, or so the fat tissue below in the lower region was viable. The week after that, on March 8th, was my surgery. I had a full mastectomy, where they successfully removed the tumors and did the reconstruction. It was an 18-hour surgery. So yeah, that's how that ended.
So there's a few things. So glad, number one, you're here to share your story, and the
And
reason that you're here
glory to
is
God.
the early connection. It really, really is. And the fact that you normally are on it, right? And life gets in the way for all of us. And one of the things that I thought that you shared, that I thought for me hit right home, right? It's so impactful, is hearing them say that you were considered stage one. But had you gone in perhaps 2 months ago, 3 months ago, you would have been stage zero. So
Mm-hmm.
putting off
Mm-hmm.
self-care can truly be something that ends your life. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that we want women to know, is like self-care is critical and life-saving. And this is such a testament to that. So thank you for, number one, sharing your story again, and then being able to be someone that we can see, like, you know what, it made a difference, right? It really
Absolutely.
did. And a part of this, your journey is not over, because there's
No.
also things that you're asked that you're like, okay, I normally do well with you've been getting your mammograms for many years because of your family
Mm-hmm.
history, but you
Absolutely.
learned something else about your family history during this process as well. Um,
Yes. Yes, I learned that. So one of the things that I learned was that, so I was clear on the my mom's side, and so I was getting my initial mammograms probably in my 30s because of my mom's diagnosis, and because my grandmother was also diagnosed. So that in my 30s, I was getting mammograms. I think I had my first one probably like 2 weeks after my mother told me. I went running to my primary care, and she said go, and totally like cleared that, and so it was covered. But I recently learned, after my own diagnosis, learned that my paternal aunt was also a breast cancer survivor. I didn't know that. And so I would just implore everyone to know your family history. Like, that's so important. I mean, in our families, families of color, we don't talk, what happens in this house stays in this house, and all those other things that we've done before. I think it's just time for us to do things differently as women. And we've got to be having conversations like, okay, so what happened to Big Mama? What happened to Aunt Shook? Like, what went down? Like, I need to know that for my own health. And so I just implore people to have those conversations with your mother, your sister, your aunt. Like, what's going on? Are you okay? Like, what do we know about our family history?
Candace Camille said, "Hello, yes, that is so true." Dr. Tiffany Wilson gives you kudos for screening early. And I think that is key, right? It really is. The other thing that, and I didn't know this either. So I've been doing my annuals, which I feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. But then hearing your story about the insurance companies, I would even ask some of these questions of these challenges you're going through, highly educated, paying into the system for so many years, and these challenges that you're having in terms of coverage. The surgery was covered, but things that we don't think about. So what questions should we be asking as we're choosing our health coverage, or we're looking at jobs and we're asking, about, okay, coverage. You don't think about it could happen. It really could happen, and we need to ask the questions.
And even with that, I knew it could potentially happen to me, but I still didn't. I was like, what's the cheapest plan? Okay, they're gonna take the less off my check. That one, right? I would just say that the first thing you need to do is check your plan, and I would call them up if it's not listed. Yep, we cover breast cancer. If you don't see those words written, call them up and ask them. If I were to, like, I'm calling and I'm asking, but like, what do you cover in terms of breast cancer? Like, what is covered? What would be covered? The surgery, the diagnostic, is reconstructive surgery covered, right? Typically they're one surgery, and so they end up having to cover it. But even after the aftercare is really important, the post surgery. So like, they sent me home without a home health care aide. I live alone. I'm single. I had to figure out how to, like, bathe. Luckily, I had family members who were willing to come and, share that much of myself themselves and help me. But without that, I don't know what I would have done. And so, because my insurance denied it, they said that's not something we cover. I was thinking about or asking about medical supplies for my wound care, because there's ongoing wound care that has to happen. I was declined for that and told I should do it over the counter. I was like, but I can't leave the house. Like, I can't walk yet. So how are these things? How is my visiting nurse, which I did have, how is my visiting nurse supposed to be able to administer those things if you're declining them? So it was quite a challenge. But I would say those are the things. Those are two things you really want to ask. Post surgery, what support can I provide? Can I have, or is provisional? And then in terms of medical supplies, because I was told, oh, you didn't pick the plan that has the medical supplies in it. Well, excuse me, I wasn't planning on having cancer, and so I'm sorry, my bad. Okay, but I've had wonderful nurses, and there are resources and there are opportunities and things like that that can support you. So I've been able to get what I need, but still, like you said, I've worked hard all my life, and so to be told I'm denied, hard stuff.
Yeah. So we have a lot of comments on here. Kenyatta Peoples says self-care is so critical, and we do need to make sure we make time. Teresa Harvey Jackson says, thanks for sharing your story. This information is life-saving. We agree. And Dr. Wilson, insurance-wise, don't be afraid to ask questions. Be persistent and appeal the decisions of the insurance company. As a clinician, I know that she understands all about the appealing, calling insurance companies to get medications or procedures covered for patients. I think you have to be your advocate, but then you also have clinicians who can be your advocate as well. Another thing I want to, and I know that we're running past our 15 minutes, but this is so important. And talk about the imaging. I really, if you go to get a regular mammogram, what about, the density of your breast, knowing your breast. Those are critical. I know we're over, but let's talk about that for a second, because everybody has different size breasts, different, knowing your density. When you go to your OBGYN and she's doing a regular breast exam, you can have that conversation about your breasts, and then it will help you know what kind of imaging, which I had no clue about, that you would get. So tell us about the imaging that caught your that would allow for you for early detection.
So I had been going for just regular imaging, like just the basic imaging, right? Until a couple of techs. It wasn't until I relocated back here to Cleveland and was going to Cleveland Clinic, where I think it was like the second time a tech had said to me, "You have dense breasts. You should really consider a dense breast mammogram." And I was like, "Oh, well, dense breasts are very healthy breasts. It's nothing, it's not abnormal. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't matter what size you are, what cup size. It is literally the makeup of your breast, right?" And so the issue with dense breasts is that they hide the cancers, because the material, the tissue is so thick. And so it's easy for those things to hide. My cancers would not have been picked up. I never felt a thing. There were no symptoms. Nothing. I would not have known. I feel like, y'all sure I had something? Because I never felt anything, right? I think in my mind I was like, something isn't right, but never was there anything I could put my finger on. And so it was me knowing and hearing from these texts, I need to have a dense breast mammogram. So when I went to my primary care, and I was also sent a letter that said, "Hey, you have dense breasts. The next one you need to get, it needs to be a dense breast mammogram," right? So that's how dense my breasts were. And so I was able to then say that to my primary care when she's like, "Oh, are you ready? I'm ready for the mammogram." And so I was like, "Well, when you put it in, when you code it, make sure it's a dense breast." And she was like, "No problem." That is one thing I will tell everybody. If you know you have dense breasts, make sure before they start taking the imagery, you ask, "Is this a dense breast mammogram? Is this for the density of the breast?" I've heard something about 3D. I've never had 3D. If that is going to deal with dense breasts, yes, check. I don't know off the hand. I don't know too much about the technologies. I just know if you have dense breasts, you are at greater risk of your cancers not being detected by a regular mammogram. So that's something you need to make sure you're advocating for yourself about. Know your breast health, know the density. Like you said, have those conversations. I have been doing my monthly breast checks.
Right.
Do those. Have your partner do them.
Yeah.
Whatever works, so that you are clear. If there's the slightest bit of change, that you are able to say something. That's your right. So you advocate for yourself with your doctor. I don't know. Some don't feel right. If
Right.
that's enough, like, start there. Try to
Right.
be as descriptive as possible, but advocate for yourself, sisters. We have to. We
Right.
have to.
Thank you so much, KJ. I'm telling
My
you,
pleasure.
this is going to save someone's life. If no other reason, you're over 40 and you haven't had your mammogram, please, ladies, go get your mammogram. This is critical. Self-care with intention is not just going to happen. Make time for yourself. And it can save your life. It really, it really can. And thank you so much. I'm so, so thankful that you are here to tell your story, and that we're not needing to memorialize you.
Cancer free,
And,
yes.
yes, yes.
No
And
chemo, no radiation. So
okay,
yeah,
early detection, right?
early detection.
So family history, have those conversations and go generations back, as far back as you can,
Mhm.
so that you understand your history. Call the insurance company, ask those questions, ask the right questions, and that will help you in, maybe determining if you pay an extra few dollars for this particular plan. And then just, make sure you're communicating with your doctor as well. Thank you so much, KJ. We
My
cannot thank
pleasure.
you
My
enough.
pleasure.
I
I
love you
love
guys.
Wellness Wednesday.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you
Love you too.
so
I
much.
love Wellness Wednesday.
Make sure that you leave your comments. If you didn't listen live, you're listening on a replay, please leave a comment. Make sure that you also share this information, because if you don't
Please
share any
share it.
other one, share this one, because can be life-saving. Thanks, guys, for joining in Wellness Wednesdays, brought to you by Edlin Essentials LLC, where healthy is the new beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.